here we got this mess, building 1 out of 2. Here we got the second junkyard transmission apart. This shaft that holds these in is seized in, can't get it out. This one was tough, had to heat up the case. So, got all the top stuff out of it that I need. Gonna put it into the original case and get it all cleaned up, put together. She's just about there. And done. Look what we're finally gonna do now. Time to get the M37 in the shop here so the transmission can go back in. I know that's been a long awaited thing, but first we gotta move the GMC 270 out of the way. And what better thing to do that with than that beauty over there. But if you haven't seen the revival on this thing, be sure to go check that video out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. More rusty old junk that was made to run again, so that's cool. Oh, and something else. If you remember the shop in here being a messy, junky, trashed up place, look now. She's all cleaned out and ready to make another mess. A lot of room for activities. Starting to get more set up in here. So let's go fire up the old boom truck and move that motor. She's just sitting over here ready for duty. Don't need to see out that direction anyways. We're backing up. Make sure she's in neutral here so I don't, do something stupid. But she's loving life now with the Motorcraft junkyard carburetor I rebuilt for her. Give her a few pumps and she's ready for action. And here we are. Still need to put a manual choke in that thing. It's set up for one now, but once she gets warmed up, she just runs like new. Anyway, get this hooked up here, and there you have it. Just remember, if you need something useful, build it. You don't always have to go buy a $40,000, $50,000 machine to lift heavy objects. Just find some junk in a old truck and make something useful out of it all. I think I'm just gonna tuck this 270 under the lean-to over here with all the other goodies. Got all projects and parts. Stick it right there, I'm thinking. It's undercover. So got her in low range so she doesn't swing all around and get excited on me. Perfect. All right, let's push this beast in here. Plenty of room. baby deer here sure gets put to work for all she's worth, but you know, it's never big enough for most of the stuff, but she's small and compact and four-wheel drive and fits into a lot of tight spots to do stuff, so it's still handy to have. But we got this truck in and get to work on getting the transmission back in it, and hopefully this thing will drive. While I got it in here on the floor and can use a creeper, I'll go through the axles, transfer case, stuff like that, make sure the oil's good and all them. Don't want to run anything dry. And yeah, it's gonna go good. Got plenty of room to use a jack here, and the thing I love about old trucks, you never have to really jack them up to get under them, so should go pretty easy and pretty quick. Okay, here we are. Transmission's all finished up and got it on this jack here with a transmission adjustable platform type thing. The only problem is, as you can see, the top of this is even with the bed, and it's got to go under that frame, so gonna have to get creative here. Jack up the back of the truck and try and get it under there, because I do not want to muscle this thing around underneath too bad. It's a big, heavy pig. So let me see what I can do with this. On a positive note, at least this thing's all cleaned up and really nice inside, and everything will work now. Better than a transmission that looked like it came from the Titanic. Life is difficult when you're dumb. Look at that. I've had it sitting under this bench here forever. I got that thing for free and it actually works. And if you see, it's got a much lower profile than that. So put a little piece of plywood on here or something and she'll go right under there. Pretty sure. So let's give that thing a try. Well, that worked just perfect. Had to jack up that wheel a little bit to gain some room here. Snuck the PTO through here, laying on its side, and then stood it up on that jack. It's gonna work nice. A lot better than trying to use that other thing. Now just to go up with it, put the input shaft in, we're good. Okay, that royally sucked, but she's in. Bad lighting here, so sorry for that, but gonna have to put up with it. She's in, bolted down on the mounting bolts. Now I got to put the PTO lever on, hook the PTO shaft back up, put the little drive shaft back on, put the levers and handbrake on, put gear oil in it. Let's see what else. Might try and get the floor pan on and then put the shifter on. And let's get under here. Feel like I'm forgetting something. PTO levers, all that stuff, and then those levers. Oh yeah, and then I gotta hook up the front and rear drive shafts because they're undone and tied up, because when the transmission used to be locked up, there was no way to move it with those hooked up, so they had to undo them. Gotta find 4 bolts for that one, 4 bolts for that one on that end. And I think we're pretty close. Check the fluid in the axles and transfer case so I don't run them dry if they're low or out. So I'll get this stuff on and then we'll be pretty close to seeing if this thing will move. I think I'm gonna call it a night. It's getting dark out. So get back on this tomorrow when there's better lighting and I'm not worn out and tired. I mean, I got that transmission finished up today and put it all back together. So doing pretty good. Okay, back again. It's the next morning. Got more light so you guys can see something for once. But I'll kind of do a recap so you can see better. Got everything in pretty much. Drive shafts hooked up. The transfer case levers and the handbrake are bolted back onto the side of the transmission. Got the PTO engagement lever back on. I'll crawl under here and show you. That's all hooked up and good. Got the transmission full of gear fluid. And now I have to find 4 bolts for this drive shaft to go back on. Like I mentioned before, they've been taken off and tied up so it could be moved where it had a locked up transmission before. Gonna find 4 bolts for there. It looks like they're fine threaded and they thread into that flange. And they were nowhere to be found in the truck. So I'm thinking I gotta take one of these off on the transfer case end, and that will give me an example to take out to my buddy's shop and he can set me up. And then I gotta get 4 more for the rear axle end. That one's tied up like that. But she's going good so far. Got the flywheel dust cover back on. And here's a look from below of the levers and everything. Couldn't get the PTO shaft back on. As you can see, it's almost there, but not enough room. Gotta pound it back on the shaft more, probably shine it up and lube it up. See if I can get it on. But I'm not too worried about that right now. That's just for the winch, and I'm not gonna be using that really yet. So I just wanna make sure this thing will drive and whatnot first. So yeah, pretty much just the drive shafts. And put the shifter on up top there. Get the shifter back on. Might pop this master cylinder cap off and see if there's any brakes. I mean, the pedal feels like there's something there. That would be amazing if this had brakes still. Test drive it, make sure everything's good, and then I can put the floor pan on after. I'll have to pull the shifter back off, but that's super easy to do. But just test it with it off. I mean, you don't have to worry about a spinning drive shaft right by your leg. It's fine. And just remembered I have to check the front differential and rear differential and transfer case for fluid. Make sure they're still up before I try and move it. So I'm gonna do that and then pull a bolt out for an example and go get 4 or 8 of them, and then come back, put the drive shafts on, and then we'll go from there. Back under the truck here, gonna pull the fill plug on the transfer case. Something cool about Dodge and with the M37, they really tucked their transfer case up into the frame, as you can see, so it's not hanging down, and you get more ground clearance with the divorced transfer case. So that's really cool. They did a good engineering design there, and it's got the brake on the back of it. So yeah, that's really cool. Let me get this plug out and we'll see how low it is. So the transfer case is low, so I'm back here on the rear axle here, and we'll see what this looks like. Up on the front axle now, the rear one, checked it, and it's down a little bit, but it still has some in it, and it's nice and clean. So just top that one off, and we'll see how the front one looks. It looks like it's a leaker, so I have my doubts here, but we'll just look and see. Oh yeah, bone dry. Yep. All right, just got back from town. Got some bolts here and some more gear oil, because never have enough of that. And I took one bolt under here and tried it out, and it's perfect. So there we go. I'll get all those in, tighten them up, finish topping off the gear oil, and so on and so forth. There we go, perfect. All bolted up, ready to go. Now the front one. And there's the front one on, ready to go. Okay, drive shafts are bolted up. I got the front axle, transfer case, and rear axle all topped off with fluid, so don't have to worry about that, running them dry or anything. So that stuff is good. And before I get it out of here, just so I can be done with getting underneath of it for a while, I'm gonna go grab a grease gun and just grease up pretty much all I can underneath, you know, steering related, slip yokes, drive shafts, U-joints, all that kind of stuff. You know, the whole point of this is to give these old things some love, which they never got over the years of being worked hard up here. So want to be better about maintenance and everything. So give her some love with the grease gun. It'll help everything go round and round like it's supposed to. Okay, she's all greased up underneath. Everything's good. Got the shifter in. Got a temporary bolt in it. It's kind of too big. Problem is I had a bolt that was too small and the shifter wanted to just rotate on that shaft that comes up out of the transmission tower, but I think she'll work for now, just to see. And one more thing I want to do, get that junk out from under there, roll the floor jack under, jack it up on each side, and just do a shakedown on the front end. And just make sure she's got no loose wheel bearings or anything that's going to fall apart. Make sure it's still tight. Oh, she's got some play. There, have a look in the dark and see if you can tell what it is. Is it knuckle or wheel bearing? It's the knuckle. Get out of there, board. Ah, stupid thing. Yeah. Okay. Thing's heavy with this railroad iron on it. All right, check this side. And it's got some play too, but not as bad. I vote send it. All right, get this powerhouse opened up. Throw the battery and coil back in it. Fire up and see if she moves. Okay, got the coil back on from the GMC 270 revival. Battery's in. Let's climb into this beast because I think we're finally ready. She hasn't been started in a while, so we'll see how she does. Give it a little bit of choke here, pull that fuel up. Ignition on, give her some pumps. Get the hood down and see what happens. Well, there we go. She's driving around pretty good. Cruises up and down the road, not too bad. Got her into 4th gear and it goes fine. Still some bugs to work out, but a lot better than when I first got it. So this is really cool. Guess I'll pull it over to the shop and drive it back in and put the floor pan in now. Kind of keep all the smoke out of the cab a little less. I got to put an exhaust pipe on it. That's one critical thing, so I'm not breathing it the whole time. Already kind of feeling that. And the brakes even work. I couldn't believe that. I didn't pop the cap on the master cylinder, so I'm gonna check that just to make sure she's up on fluid there so I don't get any air in it if it's low. But yeah, I couldn't believe the brakes work. So the brake pedal works and the handbrake on the transmission, so that's pretty amazing right there. But anyways, I've just been cruising it around, playing around with it for a while. Got it out back here to get a picture of it with the lineup. Now that she's out and about and can move. I did play around with high and low range and all that works good, so yeah, I mean, she's really coming along. This one was a little bit more challenging than the rest of them I've gotten, but I've never had to pull a transmission and completely tear it apart and rebuild it before, so can say I've done that now, so that was a good experience. And I'm glad she's revived again and moving around, so that's really cool. Back inside, get the shifter back off and put that floor pan on, check the brakes, and I guess play around with it some more. I mean, there's no leaks or anything that I can see. She's doing good so far. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, got it back out. Floor pan's in, got 2 bolts in on just either side. I didn't worry about the rest of them. If we keep it under 80, it'll be fine. And got that little piece in there for the levers. Fixed the bolt on the shifter, had to custom make one on the grinder to fit in there, to be a tight fit to hold that good. And pulled the cap on the master cylinder. Oh yeah, that's a cool thing if you're not familiar. Most people know them to be up there on the firewall. Well, back in the old days, they were under here on the frame, and then the brake pedal was just direct to it. But anyways, took the cap off, and it had fluid in it. It was about half full, so I topped it off. That's good. And that's pretty much it. Just drive it around and play with it some more, I guess. Enjoy it before it starts snowing out. Getting pretty close to that time of year. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it took a long time, 2 months since we got it running on the revival video, and then all that time was waiting on transmission bearings and finding more parts and all that good stuff. But she's finally together. I get to enjoy it a little bit before cold weather, so that's awesome. And thank you for your patience and sticking in there and being excited to see the next video on this thing, as always. So yeah, I really appreciate that. So until the next one, I'll see you later.